dances with the devil. Your power isn't special. We don't fit on your canvas. We burn it all to ashes now. 'Cause we are the outlaws.
Hey, what's up guys? We are back with another video. We're bringing you guys another behind the scenes video from a feature film that we shot about a year ago. And it's really crazy because there's some crazy camera and lighting setups that you're going to see in this video. So watch till the very end to see how we shot this entire movie on film and to see all the setups. So sit back and relax and watch this video.
Oh my gosh.
Key grip and dolly grip.
Yeah.
Today we're going to be defogging a lens. This is the defog lens masterclass. First step, $2 thrift shop hairdryer.
So why do lenses fog up?
Because it's cold outside and it's warm inside. Yep, science.
All right, everybody, we're back with the voiceovers. So I want to talk about our camera and lighting setup that we chose to use on this movie. We decided to shoot on 16mm film, and this was because the director really wanted that texture and that look that 16mm film had. Now, 16mm film is a lot cheaper than 35mm film. Also, 16mm film is very gritty, very grainy, and has a lot of texture. And that was a good fit for the story because the story was dark and gritty, so the 16mm was a great format to basically tell the story visually. 16mm film is really gritty, really soft, and has a lot of grain, and I knew this movie would be shown on bigger movie screens and bigger screens for theatrical release, and so I knew that it had to have a little bit of a sharper image so that it would hold up when it was blown up in such a big screen. So I chose the RE Ultra Primes, which are a little bit sharper of a lens set, but still have the beautiful soft characteristics and still have very soft skin tones and nice characteristics with bokeh and all that. They're also pretty fast because with 16mm film, you have to overexpose between a stop and two stops so that the grain isn't super dense and that you are able to get a little bit of a sharper image and that the shadows aren't super mucky. So I had to overexpose quite a bit. So the lenses helped because they were a T1.9, so they were pretty fast.
This is our little Pee-wee dolly.
What does it do?
Well, it lets me push Chris around on this thing all day, so he doesn't have to walk or stand anywhere. He just sits on this, and I push him around all day. We had about, I think, 35 cans of film, which was like $20,000 worth of just film canisters. That doesn't include the actual development of it. So we had about 30 cans, which is like basically like this can of film as you see here, and inside is like a 400-foot roll of film, and that basically allows you to shoot for about like 12 minutes, I think. So we shot on the RESR3, and that was just because of camera workflow. It was just so ergonomic. It had SDI out so that people could see a video feed on monitors. Now, this video feed was not accurate whatsoever. You can't trust it for exposure or color. So what I would do, I would always use my light meter for exposure. I trusted my light meter all the time. We shot with this film stock called 500T, which is 500 ISO tungsten. The T stands for tungsten, 500 stands for the ISO. But how I would set that in my light meter, because you have 500 ISO and I need to overexpose by at least a stop, I'd put in my light meter 250 ISO, so I'd always be exposing for 250 ISO, and that's how I was getting away with overexposing by a stop. And the reason why I chose to only shoot on tungsten stock was because I wanted the footage to have this bluer, cooler tone, because you can see in some of the clips from the beginning of this video, it was very cold, very gritty, and that was just the style of the film. Also, another fun fact, when you're shooting on tungsten stock, even if you convert it back to daylight,
It will hold blue in the shadows, and I'm a huge fan of how that looks, and that's a stylistic thing for myself, so that's another reason why I chose to shoot on tungsten stock. You can see us setting up the dolly here, and you might ask, why a dolly? Why not just use a gimbal? Well, the camera is really big and really heavy, and yes, it could be balanced on a bigger gimbal like the Ronin 2 or any Movi gimbal, but that would take away from the style we were going with, which was very simplistic and I guess cinematic in an essence, which the gimbals wouldn't be able to give us that look. So that's why we chose the dolly, and it's also a very powerful tool with moving the camera around a lot faster, and it allows us to save a lot more time than the Ronin or any gimbal. Since we shot this scene as one long shot, we had to hide our lights in places where we wouldn't see it. So I hid a light mat over top of him to basically create some ambience and create a nice backlight for him. And then we had the tube light as a practical on that mirror there, as you could see, which would key him when he goes over to the mirror and punches the wall. I gotta give a huge shout out to my focus puller. You can see here, he's not even looking at the monitor because he can't even tell if it's in focus or not. And so he has to use a measuring tape and measurements, and he has to look at the distance between the lens and the character to know if it actually is in focus, and it was in focus all the time, and I was shooting wide open. It's a really hard job. Imagine focus pulling without a monitor. He's just going in blind, and we're moving the camera and we're just moving around the scene, and he's just nailing the focus. So it really takes a lot, and obviously we're rehearsing and all that. Here we are at a blocking. So blocking essentially for a cinematographer allows you to see the scene, see how all the actors are playing out the scene, and allows you to think about where you're going to motivate lighting and where you're going to motivate camera movement. And you can see here, I'm using the framing app just to build my master shot, the big wide shot. This framing app is such a great tool. I use it all the time. You can see me using it there to basically plan out my coverage or my close-ups for all the characters and see where I'm going to motivate lighting from. Now, the blocking is really important because this is where actors will usually change up what they're doing because they feel it out in the scene, they play it out. So this is a chance for you to see it for the first time because this is going to affect your camera movement and your lighting. So it's really important to watch a blocking because actors will always change the blocking. The lighting setup for this scene was really easy. We always put our key light as a backlight, so we rigged it up in the ceiling. We would always tend to rig up our key lights if there was not enough space. You can see it there in the ceiling, just to create that contrast. So the shadow side would be facing camera. And you can see here in this setup, you can see that we used a menace arm to get all our lights above camera and using it as a backlight, as well as having all our sky panels back there as backlights. Here we had enough room, so we were able to use an 8x8 diffusion with sky panels. We had to use so much light because we were shooting 60 frames on film, and plus you had to overexpose by stop or stop and a half, so I needed a lot more light. Here's our lighting and grip truck where we keep all the lighting and grip gear. Here's our camera assistant, Ben, taking care of the camera and getting it ready for our first scene of the day. Every morning before we started, Genki would basically load mags of film into our magazine so that we were ready to go with 3 preloaded mags of film. This just allowed for a faster workflow, and we also did a lot of handheld on this movie, but we used it very sparingly. We only used it for the action sequences or the sequences that really felt like it needed that chaos and that feeling and mood that the handheld really gave. So in this scene, we used a lot of handheld just because there was a really intense moment here, and the character was going through a lot of stress, so it just felt really raw and really good to use handheld in this. But we did use a lot of dolly shots and a lot of like static shots as well to get big wide shots that were very simplistic and very cinematic with just beautiful push-ins as well. You can just see how powerful the dolly truly is. You can see that we're setting up this overhead rig with these camera risers here and basically arming out with this camera offset to get the camera far away from the dolly so that when we tilt down and pointing directly downward, almost as a bird's eye shot, we wouldn't see the base of the dolly. So you can see how powerful this dolly is and how versatile it is. You can put it in so many situations to make almost any shot happen, whereas a gimbal is so limited. It's mostly only for tracking shots, so it's really limited on what the gimbal can do, but the dolly is just so versatile. That's why we had it as a tool. Here's Max, our Steadicam operator, and he's balancing his Steadicam. This was a really fun scene. This was one of the only scenes we did on Steadicam for this movie, but it was because it was a 360 shot around a dinner table for the entire scene. So it was a really cool shot. It actually took an entire day just to rehearse this one shot. We were so limited on the amount of film we had, and it was so expensive for the film, so we basically delegated an entire day, 12 hours, just to rehearse one shot. Because we were so limited on film and it was so expensive, we had to make sure we got it perfect. And now there's so many elements that go into one shot. There's the focus, there's the camera work, there's the blocking, there's the acting, and it was 9-page scene. A 9-page scene is a really long scene. Basically, the math works out to 1 page equals 1 minute. So that was 9-minute scene that Max with the Steadicam is going around the table with like an 80-pound rig. That's really heavy to keep going around 360 for 9 minutes. That's absolutely crazy. And lighting a 360 shot is even harder. We had moonlight coming in through the windows, and then we had a light mat rigged over top, key lighting them, rigged up on this pipe that was between the two walls.
Got it?
Do we just have two? Or are we supposed to have more than two? I think we have two here.
Did Jordan do that?
One and one. Is this going to be a problem? Doesn't this need to be...
Light mat, that's gonna be...
This is a light mat. We're gonna boom it over top.
Let's get it over that way.
Let's go higher up, possibly, maybe.
Then let's go next riser.
Keep going.
Grass is like, what the fuck, dude?
I'm at this shit 24/7, okay? 25/8.
All right, so how we set this up? Got the camera here, right? We're shooting. Let's show them the frame. Come on, Peter. Let's show them the frame. That's the frame. Sorry about the terrible image. It's film. But we have a backlight here. You know, you never want some front light because that doesn't show you shadows. Got a nice backlight so that there's a lot of shape here. You know, a lot of shadows and shape. And then over there will be another character through this glass. We have a light mat there, being a side key. And then on the other side of that, we just have an ultra bounce flop. Come check it out. This ultra bounce flop right here gives a little bit of return back from this light mat, just because it was a little bit too contrasty when I read it on my meter. I don't have my light meter with me, but when I read it, it was like too low of a exposure. It was a little under, so it was on film. You kind of want to up the shadows a little bit just because it gets way too crunchy on film. Digital is a lot more forgiving. But yeah, this is what we did. That's the setup. Super easy. Boom, bada boom, baby.
This video is, by the way, sponsored by Manscaped. Thank you so much.
This was a menace arm that they were setting up to put a light on. We used the menace arm all the time just to basically make it easier to move our key light around, because we were always using far side key lights. So we had to arm out our light to get it on the other side of camera and hide it off of camera, because where the camera's pointing, you'd probably see it. You can see here, that's the monitor feed. You can see how bad it is. It's just, you can barely tell what's going on. It's very fuzzy, so do not trust it for exposure. I warn you, do not trust it for exposure. But here was one of our last scenes of the entire movie. We were just in this bar and we have this fun 360 shot on the dolly. And here's another use case of it. You can do anything with dolly. You can do 360, you can do booming shots. It's so many capabilities. The reason why we didn't use the dolly for the 360 shot in the house and did the Steadicam was because the dolly just honestly couldn't fit in the small space, and the Steadicam could. But yeah, this was one of the last scenes and one of the last days of the whole shoot, and it was a lot of fun. It was an amazing, fun shoot, and I can't thank the crew enough for the amazing, awesome energy and supporting this whole film. Oh my god, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. I know I had a blast making it for you guys. I hope you guys learned something. That movie was a lot of fun to make. I thought the visuals turned out really great. I was really happy with it. There's a lot more shots to the movie that I wasn't able to share yet, but the movie will be out eventually. But yeah, leave me a comment down below. Do you guys think that we could have accomplished this movie with shooting it on digital camera and didn't have to do it on film? Let me know. I would like to know your thoughts. And if you guys can hit a subscribe button and be part of the community, that would be really awesome. And leave me a comment. Even if you don't want to answer that comment, just leave me a comment. Let me know what you guys think, what you guys want to see. I love getting back to you guys. I love this community that we're building. And yeah. I'll see you guys in the next video. See you later.